some common City fans might not be aware of your background as both a player and a coach. Can you just talk us through that?
Yeah, I had a 20-year playing career. I started at my hometown club, Swindon. I was a young lad there many moons ago. I spent 9.5 years there. Played under some great managers, Lou Macari. It was the old second division when I was an apprentice. They won the championship with a record number of points. I talked to Gaff about that. We used to do 6-mile runs on a Thursday, the team that was playing, and still run over teams on a Saturday. It's amazing how sports science now has implemented the game. What they'd think of that, I don't know. So I played under some really good managers, Glenn Hoddle, that took us into the Premier League. It was a pleasure. It was his first role, player manager. So, I probably should have gone a little bit earlier than I did when I look back on my playing career. Probably 2 years earlier was the time for me to go. I didn't. Then I went to Walsall, obviously, down the road from here. I had 5.5 great years there, culminating in winning promotion to the Championship. It was a club for like Walsall to send Man City in the playoffs. It was an amazing achievement. The next year was when the gaffer and me played that year together in the Championship. Sadly, we went down. Then I left and went to Reading. Did 3 years at Reading, again, won promotion from this league we're in now. To go back, we got beaten in the playoff final the first year, and then we won automatic the next year. And then I played at Oxford. I managed Cirencester, which is a non-league Southern Premier League team. I was a player there. I was at 37. I played there for 18 months just to get that enjoyment feel back. I played 20 years about the pressures of providing for your family and like normal people paying your bills, and I just wanted to play for fun. I wanted to enjoy it, and I did. And then I started doing my coaching badges, and I got my A licence. I went back to Siren as a manager to try and implement my coaching work. So to do the sessions and see, I had a young team, very, very interestingly similar, a couple of older players, league players. Julian Allsop, who was a striker for me, played for Cheltenham from, I think he's from Nuneaton, so not far down the road, and he was brilliant for me, and Tom King, a goalkeeper who played in the league as well. They were my two stalwarts, and I had all young lads around them, and it was just to try and implement my training to see if it would work. And then I stepped away from it, to be honest, and I went to get to, obviously up to that A licence I had to do a year, and I had to concentrate solely on that. So I worked for Swindon Football in the Community. I did coaching with all ages of kids for a year. I scouted for MK Dons when Martin Allen was manager. I worked in Honda for 3 months. I worked in Woolworths. I drove in Reading when I lived there for a couple of years. So I've done normal jobs as well. So I know how hard people have to work, and I think that gives you a value of demanding hard work from people, and to come in every day and give the best you can, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing tremendous jobs and getting little reward, and to do something you love. And then when I was at Cirencester, I got the opportunity to go to Chelsea as under 12 assistant. First of all, I'd done some work in their summer holiday camps when they do individual work. People had brought me in to do defensive sessions. I knew Jim Fraser, the assistant academy manager. He's from Swindon, so they brought me in. I had a good relationship with the people there, and that was a big contrast. And I went there as an under 12 assistant, and 9 years later I was leaving as under 23's head coach. 2 Youth Cup wins, beaten in the other final, 2 Champions League wins, 13 players playing around Europe at that stage in first teams. And now obviously the boys that are in the first team, all of us that were there, we'll feel proud of the roles we played. It was a tremendous period. Dominance in the Youth Cup. Everyone says, well, about money, but Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool spent a lot of money and they didn't win one. It was a really interesting time. I learned a lot. I developed a great deal. I worked with some fantastic people and outstanding players from all around the world. Very lucky. And you learn a lot about yourself. And I certainly, my ambition as a coach was to be better than I was as a player. I was at Swindon in the Premier League but broke my leg, so I never actually got to play. I was on the bench twice but never played at that level. I wasn't at that level, I wasn't at the manager's level. I didn't have the pace to play in the Premier League. I read the game well in my head, but I wasn't quick enough. So League One and Championship was where most of my career was played. And yeah, it was to work for a club as big as Chelsea was a fantastic achievement. I'm very proud of the work I did there and implemented it. And you know, now I'm in a new chapter, and we obviously have big ambitions that we're trying to achieve here, and trying to make the players better every day, as I keep saying, and help develop the staff.
Development of staff, it's interesting, that comes on to my next question, because it's the pathway that you went along from under 12s assistant coach is sort of what's happening now at Coventry City, with likes of Jason Farner and Luke Tisdale moving into the under 23s and the first team. How important is that for you as someone who's come through that pathway?
I think it's vital for the club, not for me. I think it's a vital stage for the club. I think when I first came in, obviously Jason had been working with Nicky Eden at the time. He was here involved in the first meetings, the first couple of days of training when I just observed. He was involved in the sessions, he was up here all the time. And then that slightly changed, but you know, they've both got a very bubbly dynamic. They obviously care greatly about the club. Jason, you know, certainly has played a massive role in the development of a lot of the top young players that have come through. He has an affinity with people. You know, James Maddison, if you talk to him, would speak extremely highly of him. You know, Tom Bayliss, Jordan Shipley, and now the change in the role for him means that next dynamic's not just, again for Jason, not just about the Sam McCallums. You know, for the next stage of Jason's development is, can he affect, you know, an established first team player, and can they get the buy-in? So he's going to have learned a tremendous lot about himself over the last 4 months. But it's vital for the club. I think it's brilliant to have a pathway. There's been a couple of other changes. I mean, Luke came up last year. We were all supporting that. The gaffer pushed that through, which was great to have two of those coaches at that level. It's how you get the best out of individual players at a young age. We all know the financial constraints around clubs are not the same, and I get that, but that was a real key appointment to put Luke under Jace. You know, the season they had last year, the development in the players. I went to the semi-final at Leeds. It's an outstanding match. And they should have been really proud of the work they did, but they've got the club's in their heart, and it does give you a slight edge at times. So yeah, I think it's vital, but also for the other coaches in the academy to not feel that it's always about leaving, it's always about moving, because in the last 5 years of development, what I noticed was, certainly at Chelsea, the highest level, is people just couldn't wait. They want the next thing. That's the new generation. They want the next role there. They're not, instead of concentrating on the role they're in. So I think it's been a natural evolution. Delighted that Luke obviously got to be the 23's head coach. Certainly going to improve a lot. Jason worked with the first team, but both of them being around us all every day is fantastic, because you know, that's the difference at a club like this compared to a first team environment, elite, top level. Sometimes you wouldn't see the manager in my role. It was a lot more difficult than working with the gaffer here, which can be difficult at times, obviously, like any manager, but it was a lot more difficult working with Mr. Mourinho and Conte and people than they would experience. So I'm glad that they're seeing it from the other side. And again, it's about them developing. It's how far they want to go, but they certainly want to see the club be at its highest ebb, and they're pushing the young players to be what the manager wants them to be, to impact his first team. It is without doubt, Luke said it the other day, we spoke about it in pre-season, it's the hardest year for young players here, because the calibre of player we've got in the squad now. So they're going to have to be extremely good to get opportunities, but Sam McCallum's showing them that if you're good enough, the manager will play you. He's done it before, and I'm sure they take great pride in that. They should, in their work.
Because now you've got the challenge that you didn't have at Chelsea, where you've got to get points and develop players. That's a different challenge for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I found that. Yeah, I've said that before in interviews, but it's a big dynamic change, that, because obviously there's pressure at Chelsea to win every game, whatever you're an under 12 or under 23, but it's not the same pressure as a 3 points on a game, or going 5 matches without a win. If you went 5 matches without a win at Chelsea, you'd be having discussions with the academy manager, but you wouldn't be having discussions as though that could lead to maybe your job ending. The reality is that, yeah, I try and keep a level head, because I can still see development in defeat, but I fully understand that first team football is about results as well. So you want the two to mirror together, but I think it's important for coaches to also see the development and how you get the players closer to where they would be, because you can play, because you played every team twice, you can play one game and be, absolutely ruined by a winger if you're a fullback, but if you've learned and implemented the work, your development, and when you play against them again, is they don't have the same impact. I think that's how the first team is, probably how I've worked around it. But the individual reviews, like I mentioned earlier, is massive for the younger players, because you're trying to help them get somewhere quicker than maybe naturally they will. Wilbur Parga, for an example, he had a brilliant pre-season with us, came with the first team. Physically he's not a man, we know that, but he's an outstanding talent, and we have to make sure that we keep putting him into situations where the strong players in this group are able to play their part in his development by toughening up, by him being hit by Darbo in training, and that will generally help. Over a period of time, that will get him more aware of space, more aware of where pressure comes from, and then when the manager does select him in the first team, it doesn't matter about youthfulness. It means that he still will be able to impact on games or training sessions, and I think that's the bit I like. I like seeing from afar when they come and train with us. Where are they? How far away? And I still have a massive eye on the development, because this club has a brilliant reputation, rightly so, on playing young players. And in the 2 years I've been here, like I said, for Tom Bayliss and Jordan Shipley, two homegrown players, to be playing at Wembley and having such an impact that season, in promotional season, everybody in the academy should have been extremely proud, and they should have been told that all of them had played a big role in that, and I'm sure they were. But you should take great satisfaction as a club in the reputation that the club has in youth development, and we want to continue that, and I'm very along those lines of trying to implement and make that happen, but understanding that the manager has to pick a team that's going to get results in the league, but on these young players to keep pushing him and trying to force his hand.